There comes a moment in every person's life when they look in the mirror and finally tell the truth. Not the comfortable truth, not the filtered truth, not the version they tell the world to sound strong, but the real truth. The truth that says, I'm capable of more than this. I'm built for more than this. I'm meant for more than this. And the moment that truth hits you, something inside you wakes up. You feel in your chest, in your breath, in the way your mind suddenly sharpens. You realize you've been walking through life half asleep, half committed, half believing in yourself. But not anymore, because today isn't another day. Today is the day you stop letting life happen to you and start taking control of your story like your future depends on it, because it does. People spend their whole lives wondering why nothing changes for them, but they never change the part of themselves that keeps them stuck. They want new results with the same mindset. They want new levels with the same habits. They want a powerful life with a comfortable attitude. But you're here because you're done with that. You're done settling. You're done shrinking. You're done letting fear, insecurity, and laziness speak louder than your potential. You're done living like life is something you survive instead of something you conquer. Something inside you is hungry, restless, ready to evolve into a version of yourself you've never met before. And that version of you, he's not average. He doesn't fold. He doesn't wait. He doesn't break. He doesn't need validation. He doesn't play small. He doesn't negotiate with weakness. He wakes up with purpose. He walks with intention. He works with fire. He looks at the world differently, not as a place full of obstacles, but as a battlefield where he proves himself every single day. That version of you already exists inside you. You're not creating him. You're uncovering him. You're digging him out from under years of doubt, years of fear, years of old habits, years of thinking you're less than what you were designed to be. So before we go any further, make a decision. Decide that you're done living below your capacity. Decide that you're done with excuses that sound good, but keep you small. Decide that every second of this video, every word, every idea, every emotion, you're absorbing it, you're letting it hit your soul. Because this is entertainment, this is transformation. This is you rewriting your identity from the inside out. This is you stepping into a state of mind where weakness has no place, average has no home, and excuses die before they're spoken. If you're ready for that, then listen with everything you've got. Not casually, not comfortably, not halfway, but fully, aggressively, intentionally. Because the person you're about to become, he's stronger than your past, louder than your fear, and hungrier than every excuse you've ever made. And once you unleash him, there's no going back. Let's begin. Average is not a condition you inherit. It's a condition you allow. It's not stamped into your identity. It's stamped into your decisions. When you look at your life, your routines, your effort, your priorities, you begin to see the truth. Average is never an accident. It's the result of choosing comfort over challenge, convenience over commitment, laziness over leadership. And the moment you decide you will no longer tolerate that level of living, everything inside you begins to shift. The first keynote is the heart of that transformation. Average is a choice, but greatness is a commitment. And commitment isn't some soft motivational word. Commitment is war. Commitment is the moment you look at everything holding you back, everything weakening you, everything stealing your potential, and you choose to rise anyway. Commitment is the day you stop negotiating with excuses. Most people wake up and let the day decide who they are. They let emotions decide their output. They let fear decide their actions. They let friends, distractions, comfort, and social pressure decide how far they go. That's why they stay average. Because average people don't understand that greatness starts long before success shows up. It starts in the dark, when nobody claps for you, when nobody believes in you, when nobody is watching. You don't commit to greatness when life feels good. You commit when life feels heavy. You commit when your mind tries to break you. You commit when your mind tries to break you. You commit when failure tries to embarrass you. You commit when disappointment tells you to quit. Greatness is born in the moments average people run from. And you will never rise above average if you move like the people who stay trapped in it. There comes a point when you must confront the truth. Being average feels safe, but that safety is a cage. It kills your hunger, weakens your discipline, blinds your ambition, and suffocates your potential. It convinces you that a good enough is good enough. But deep down, you know that's a lie. You feel it every time you look at your goals and say, Ed tomorrow. You feel it every time you give half effort and expect full results. You feel it every time you see someone winning and you know you could have been there if you pushed harder. You feel it when another year passes and your life hasn't moved. That feeling is the truth calling you out, reminding you that you weren't built to be average. You simply got comfortable living like it. Greatness requires a version of you that most people will never meet because most people never commit. They wish, hope, pray, and talk, but they don't commit. Commitment is action. Commitment is discipline. Commitment is daily pressure. Commitment is consistency when you don't see results. It's the choice to go again and again and again when the world tells you you're done. It's waking up at 5 a.m. because your future is worth more than your comfort. It's working on your craft when everyone else is asleep. It's pushing yourself when nobody forces you. It's refusing to stop because you have a purpose bigger than your excuses. When you commit to greatness, the world starts seeing a different version of you, sharper, hungrier, more focused, less emotional, more intentional, more dangerous. You become someone who refuses to be outworked, outdisciplined, or outfocused. Average people chase motivation. Committed people chase mastery. That's the difference. Motivation fades. Feelings change. Emotions shift. But commitment, real commitment, creates a lifestyle where effort is not optional. You don't ask yourself, do I feel like it? You just do it. You don't wait for the right moment. You create the moment. You don't search for inspiration. You behave like inspiration. When you move with commitment, your standards rise. You stop letting people waste your time. Letting people waste your time. You stop entertaining distractions. You stop doing the bare minimum. You stop making promises you don't keep. You build a personal code, a mental contract that demands you show up differently. And once you create that identity, average becomes impossible. It simply can't exist in a life built on high standards. Committing to greatness means you start valuing the things average people ignore. You value discipline more than comfort. You value long-term growth more than short-term pleasure. You value sacrifice more than attention. You value principles more than popularity. You value consistency more than applause. And the moment these values become non-negotiable, your life elevates. Your routines elevate. Your mindset elevates. Your goals elevate. Your energy elevates. You start attracting opportunities, people, and environments that reflect your new level. Life responds to your commitment. The universe respects effort. You can't fake commitment. Your results expose you. Greatness demands sacrifice, but the price of staying average is far higher. Average costs you your dreams. Average costs you your potential. Average costs you your confidence, your purpose, your inner fire. Average forces you to watch other people live the life you could have earned. But commitment gives everything back. It builds you, it stretches you, it transforms you. It turns struggle into strength, pressure into power, setbacks into strategy. It reshapes your character into something unshakable. And once you taste the strength that comes from real commitment, average becomes unbearable. If you're tired of living beneath your own potential, tired of holding back, tired of dreaming more than you're doing, then you must understand this. The moment you commit to greatness, the world can no longer keep you average. You rise, you push, you transform, you evolve. You become the person you were meant to be, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Commitment is the line that separates the watchers from the winners, the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the achievers. And if you're ready, truly ready to stop living like everyone else, then say it with your actions, not your voice. Say it with your discipline, not your excuses. Say it with your effort, not your intentions. Say it by committing to a life so big, so bold, so demanding that average can't survive in your presence. That's the power of choosing greatness. That's the moment your life stops being controlled by fear, comfort, or doubt. That's when you rise. That's when you separate yourself. That's when you declare to the universe, I won't stay average. And from that day forward, nothing about you will be average again. When you finally decide you won't stay average, something inside you starts to burn that wasn't burning before. It's like waking up one morning and realizing the world has been operating on a script you didn't write, and you're done letting life hand you lines you never agreed to speak. The moment you choose to rise above mediocrity, you begin to see how much of your life was shaped by comfort, by habits, by routines that were never meant for a person who wants more. And this realization hits you with a force you can't ignore anymore. You start noticing the shortcuts you've been taking, the excuses you've been making, the dreams you've been postponing, and suddenly every one of them becomes unacceptable. Because choosing not to stay average isn't a slogan. It's a decision that demands you change everything you were comfortable holding on to. You begin to understand that average is not a condition, it's a commitment. And whether you realized it or not, you've been committed to it for years. You were committed every time you said, "Oh, tomorrow." You were committed every time you convinced yourself that good enough was enough. You were committed every time you avoided the hard thing and chose the easy one. But the second you declare you won't stay average, you break that contract. You tear it up. You start moving differently. You start thinking differently. And the first shift that happens is internal. It's invisible. Nobody sees it. Nobody claps for it. Nobody even knows it's happening. But you know because the way you speak to yourself changes. Your inner voice stops being soft, weak, and forgiving of laziness. It becomes sharper, it becomes clearer, it becomes more honest. You stop lying to yourself. You stop sugarcoating your flaws. You stop pretending you don't know what you need to do. That mental shift alone is powerful enough to change the direction of your entire life. And once the shift happens, your standard rise. Everything you used to tolerate becomes intolerable. You can't watch yourself waste a day anymore. You can't let yourself procrastinate. You can't spend time with people who are okay with average because now you hear the difference in their language. They talk about later. They talk about maybe. They talk about someday. They talk like they've got limited time. But you no longer live in that fantasy. When you decide you won't stay average, time becomes precious in a way it never was before. Every hour matters. Every choice matters. Every step matters. You start guarding your energy like it's gold. You stop responding to everything. You stop giving attention to drain you. You stop sacrificing your future for moments of temporary comfort. Your discipline strengthens not because you suddenly love discomfort, but because you finally hate watching yourself shrink into a life that doesn't match your potential. You also begin to realize that rising above average is lonely. Not because people disappear, but because you start seeing them clearly. You notice how many people settle. You notice how many people are okay living in circles. You notice how many people dream big but act small, and you refuse to be one of them anymore. So you walk away, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. You choose solitude over stagnation. You choose growth over validation. You choose progress over popularity. And that's when your journey truly begins. Because rising above average means you become the type of person who does things most people won't do. You become the person who works when others sleep. You become the person who studies when others scroll. You become the person who wakes up early, not because it's trendy, but because your purpose doesn't allow you to sleep in. Every day you sharpen your mind, your skills, your habits, and slowly, almost silently, you separate yourself from who you used to be. And as you grow, something beautiful and brutal happens. Your future starts pulling you harder than your past. You stop feeling connected to your old life. You stop feeling attached to your old identity. You no longer recognize the version of you who played small, who avoided risks, who waited for permission. You don't want to be that person again. You can't be, because the new standard you set for yourself won't allow you to go back. And that's the moment you realize the truth. Once you choose to not stay average, your life will never be the same. You operate with hunger. You move with urgency. You think with clarity. You act with purpose. And every single day you wake up knowing you are becoming a person your old self never believed you could be. That is the transformation. That is the shift. That is what happens when you declare deep in your chest with your whole soul that you won't stay average. You don't just change your actions, you change your identity. You become a person who refuses excuses, rejects limitations, and lives with a fire that doesn't die when it gets difficult. And that right there is how you rise. That is how you break out. That is how you create a life that no one can put you back into a box again, because you made the decision. And once the decision is real, average will never feel comfortable again. When you refuse to stay average, the world stops being something you simply live in and becomes something you shape. New. That's the shift that happens when you decide to build a life that matches your highest potential. Not your excuses, not your past, Not your environment, but your potential. Building a life like that means you stop relying on external motivation, external approval, and external direction. You begin constructing a future that reflects who you are becoming, not who you've been. And this process is not clean, it's not comfortable, and it's not quick. It's a rebuilding brick by brick, day by day, choice by choice. And the truth is, most people never reach this stage because building a life beyond average requires a level of self-responsibility that the average person avoids their entire life. When you step into this mindset, you start seeing your life as something you are responsible for creating. You stop waiting for the right time. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop waiting for support. You stop waiting for the stars to align. You look at your life and you understand, maybe for the first time, that nobody's coming to save you, motivate you, push you, or give you the perfect path. It's on you. And that realization isn't depressing, it's liberating. It frees you, because if it's on you, it means you have control. You have power. You have ownership. You start waking up every day with an urgency that average people can't understand because they haven't taken ownership of their life yet. When you do, something changes in your eyes. You stop complaining. You stop blaming. You stop pointing fingers. You stop pointing fingers. You stop saying, if only things were different. Instead, you say, this is what I've been given, and I will build greatness out of it. Building a life that reflects your highest potential requires discipline, and not the cute kind of discipline people post on social media. Not the type where you go hard for 3 days and disappear for 3 weeks. I'm talking about the discipline that changes your lifestyle, the discipline that rewires your thinking, the discipline that makes you act according to your vision, not your emotions. You work when you don't feel like it. You train when you're tired. You study when you'd rather relax. You grind when nobody is watching. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop saying that later when something needs to be done now. You stop choosing comfort over progress. Because once you tap into your potential, comfort becomes the enemy. You begin to understand that average people lose to their emotions every day. They do what feels good. But people who create extraordinary lives do what must be done regardless of how they feel. And that's the difference that separates the average from the unstoppable. As you build this new life, you also start creating an identity strong enough to carry the weight of your dreams. You stop identifying yourself by your mistakes, your failures, or your past. You stop calling yourself weak, lazy, or inconsistent. You begin forging a new identity, one aligned with discipline, hunger, ambition, and growth. This identity shift is the reason your habits start changing, your mindset starts sharpening, and your daily choices start improving. You're no longer trying to become someone new. You are stepping into who you were always capable of being. Every time you push through a difficult moment, you reinforce that identity. Every time you reject a shortcut, you reinforce that identity. Every time you choose growth over excuses, you reinforce that identity. You begin building a life that fits the highest version of you, not the smallest. Along this journey, you will lose people, not because you push them away, but because they cannot follow where you're going. They don't understand why you work so hard. They don't understand why you don't waste time. They don't understand why you're obsessed with growth, with discipline, with progress. They'll call you different, intense, distant, focused, because they don't realize you're not building a normal life. You're building a life that requires sacrifice, a life that demands you outgrow the environments that slowed you down. And when you finally accept that not everyone can come with you, your growth accelerates. You stop trying to drag people along. You stop trying to make everyone comfortable. You understand that building a life beyond average requires you to walk a path few are willing to walk. One of the most powerful parts of this process is that you start developing unshakable resilience. You stop breaking under pressure. You stop folding when life hits you hard. And you stop letting setbacks control your direction. You begin to understand that greatness is built through adversity. You start welcoming challenges instead of running from them. You start understanding that each difficulty is shaping you into a stronger, sharper, more capable version of yourself. Average people crumble when obstacles appear. You rise. Average people stop at the first sign of pain. You endure. Average people quit when it gets uncomfortable. You lean in, and that resilience becomes your competitive advantage. It becomes the force that separates you from everyone else who had the same dream but didn't have the same drive. As you continue building this life, you feel something new, alignment. You finally start seeing your actions, your habits, your goals, and your purpose working in harmony. You wake up with intention. You move with clarity. You make decisions based on your future, not your feelings. And that alignment creates momentum so powerful that you no longer need motivation to push you. Your life begins to pull you forward. Every day becomes a step toward a future you once thought was out of reach. You stop living for the short term. You stop settling for average outcomes. You start chasing excellence, not because someone told you to, but because your soul can no longer tolerate mediocrity. Building a life that reflects your highest potential is not easy. It's not quick. It's not glamorous. It's a process that demands sacrifice, discipline, focus, and emotional toughness. But the reward is a life that feels like it belongs to you. A life defined by purpose, strength, resilience, and ambition. A life that makes you proud when you look in the mirror. A life that no longer has the fingerprints of your fear, your past, or your limitations on it. Because once you decide you're done being average, you stop building a life that fits people's expectations. And you start building a life that matches your destiny. When you decide you will no longer stay average, you ignite something inside you that most people never experience in their entire lifetime. You awaken a fire that refuses to let you settle, refuses to let you shrink, refuses to let you be anything less than the strongest, most powerful version of yourself. And as we close this message, understand clearly, the moment you stop accepting average is the moment your life starts shifting in ways you never thought were possible. Your habits change, your focus sharpens, your energy rises, your purpose becomes louder, you stand up straighter, you carry yourself differently. You begin to walk like someone who knows where they're going instead of wandering like someone lost in their own excuses. You start respecting your time, respecting your gifts, respecting your future. The truth is, greatness doesn't belong to the chosen few. It belongs to the few who choose, and right now you have a choice to make. You can walk out of this moment and go back to living the same routine, the same mindset, the same level, the same excuses, the same limitations that have held you down for years. Or you can decide that this is the moment things change. This is the moment your story turns. This is the moment you flip the switch. This is the moment you rise above the average version of yourself that you've outgrown. The world doesn't need another person hiding their potential. The world needs someone willing to step into it, own it, and use it. Your future isn't built in a day. It's built daily. And the next 24 hours matter more than you realize. The small decisions you make, the disciplines you protect, the habits you reinforce, these are the things that will separate you from everyone who talks about greatness but never lives. Stop thinking about the entire mountain. Just take the next step with everything you've got. Stop waiting for motivation. Rely on commitment. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Create momentum. Stop waiting for permission. Give yourself the authority to level up. You owe it to the future version of you who is depending on the choices you make today. And listen, your journey will not be perfect. You will stumble, you will struggle, you will question yourself. But don't let that shake your resolve. The difference between average and unstoppable has never been perfection. It has always been persistence. The ones who win are the ones who refuse to quit, the ones who refuse to fold, the ones who refuse to go back to the person they promised they'd never be again. So as this moment ends, let something new begin. Let a new fire take over your life. Walk forward with a mindset that says, I will not return to average. I will not lower my standards. I will not betray my potential. Carry that energy into your mornings, your goals, your choices, your grind. Let this be the day you become the kind of person whose discipline intimidates your excuses, whose focus silences your distractions, and whose actions speak louder than every doubt you've ever had. Because the world may accept average, but you don't have to. And if you refuse to stay average today, your future will never look the same again.